Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I am working on a bunch of stuff. I am finishing some handles for some custom orders, and I'm also doing a kydex sheath for an upcoming auction knife, and that's actually what I wanted to make this video about. Now, I'll show you in a second the knife. It's going to be a little tricky, and I thought it might be fun to film the process. Hopefully it turns out good at the end of this. But I thought I'll show you guys kind of a couple little tips and tricks to getting your kydex done without scratching the blade. I'm actually working on a couple of these little I call this the micro Upland Hunter. This one's got some really cool light blue Yuma rock texturing. This is kind of a new design. I'm actually going to be working on 12 of these pretty soon for a drop knife. Kind of a really cool budget entry-level knife. So if you're interested in that, go over to my website and get on the emailer and you can try to snag one. So let me get you over here and I'll show you this knife and show you what we're working on. So I get a lot of questions about kydex, and I've had people ask me to make more and more videos about it now. I've made a couple, 2 or 3 full in detail videos on how I do my kydex sheaths, and it's still a struggle. It's like anything. I still scratch knives all the time and I have to fix them, and it's just something that no matter how many you make, it's still a little tricky. And with this knife, which I'll show you guys right now, it's actually pressed already, but this one's really challenging. This isn't the knife, but this will at least show you kind of what the blade looks like. Now, you can see this knife has a big top swedge, so you've got this spot to deal with. That's a problem for the kydex grabbing. And also the belly sticks out higher than this point, so this belly gets scratched up really easy. So that's a problem area. Now, I built this auction knife, I'm gonna show you guys, and it turned out really cool. It's super unique compared to what I normally do. And I have these custom leather sheaths made that actually fit my pocket muck and a bunch of other designs, and they fit the pocket alpine as well. But I don't know, sometimes it's a lot easier to slap this in a leather sheath, but I thought a lot of times the easy way isn't always the best way. So I wanted to do a custom kydex sheath for this pocket alpine skinner. The press came out really good. So this is kind of what it looks like right out of the press. And let me pop this out of here really quick and show you guys my thought process on what I did, and hopefully it's gonna work. So this is a new design. And again, I did kind of a batch drop of these a month or so ago, and I put them all in leather. And I guess at the end of the day, to do it in leather, it costs a little more money, but it saves me the time of having to figure this process out. And I've done this with a lot of knives, so I kind of get what needs to be done, but still getting it done is a whole nother story. So with this design, again, it's all taped up and stuff right now. I'll show you guys at the end. You can see I made a spacer that fits right here, and that hides the ramp. So when you press your kydex, it kind of eliminates that spot and leaves an opening. And then also, I made a spacer that fills the void of the belly of this knife too. So basically, you just make a little spacer out of G10 or whatever material you have laying around. Let me see if I can pop this off to show you guys this little, and I kind of custom make these little spacers for each knife design. So that way I have them on hand, and when I go to press a sheath, I've got them, and that fits right in that little spot. So I did that. I added my little spacer there. I did a couple extra layers of tape on this. Now, I'm sure if you guys are watching this, you've probably made a kydex sheath or thinking about it, and you've probably scratched a knife. Now, the problem with this one is I cannot scratch this knife because I'll show you guys probably at the end of this. This has satin finished flats and stone washed bevels. So if I scratch that stone wash, there's no way to fix it. I can't re-stone wash it because it'll end up screwing up the flats. Now, for example, if I did a kydex sheath for this knife and scratched the bevels, I could always go back and touch that up without ruining the finish on the flats. I could resatin those bevels, which makes it a little simpler. And on like this knife, if I scratched the stonewash finish, since it's fully stonewashed everything, I could probably carefully tape up the handles, re-acid etch this, and retumble it. But with this knife in particular, if I do scratch those bevels, there's no way to fix it. So I'm gonna get into shaping this a little bit, and I'll touch base once I make a little progress. All right, so I got kind of the rough shaping done on this. Let me give you guys a quick look just to get an idea. That's about how far I take it on the grinder. And I just use like a 60 grip belt to hog off most of the material. Now this is the key to this, is not removing too much material here so you can keep your tension point good. At least that's where I get all my retention in the sheaths. It's kind of that really front bolster part of the handle normally. And then I left enough meat on there so I can still remove some. So before I start doing any of my kind of more detailed shaping, I'm going to add my little thumb ramp. And I just use one of these little micro torches you can refill, because I end up going through lighters all the time, so I bought one of these little things, which is actually pretty cool. And I just take my thumb. I've showed you guys this in the past, but I take my thumb and just fold that over and kind of massage it back and pull it back a little bit, because you don't want to, if you just fold it over, it ends up pushing this part into the knife and gives you a binding point. But if you just kind of fold it over with your thumb, and that kind of hardens up as you go, and you're good to go. So then when you go to pop the knife out, you get a good spot to do that with. So you can see now it's pretty ugly, but that's the gist of what we want. So I really hope I didn't remove too much material there. Let me shape this a little bit with the Dremel and kind of see where we're at. So all I was doing there is kind of making this a little more even and look better, as far as just making it a little cleaner with that Dremel. It helps clean it up a little bit. Definitely when you guys do this, wear safety glasses. I'm an idiot and never do, and I always get it in my eyeballs. So the next step is kind of we'll see if I have to trash this or not, but I'm going to remove these layers of tape from this blade. And I normally use 2 layers of tape on everything of this, and it's maybe weird, but it's this specific blue tape seems to work the best for me. I already removed my top little insert, and I've got to remove my bottom one. Now, with this knife in particular, I added an extra layer of tape to this area because I just know from doing this in the past with other knives with bellies, this is what ends up rubbing, and I hate it when that happens. So I thought I better add a couple extra layers, and hopefully the problem with adding more layers than what you need is you get the sheath done and it creates too much space inside of there, and it'll rattle inside the sheath. So it's like a super finicky thing to do. But here you can kind of see what that little spacer looks like that I made to fill that void. I made it to fit just into that belly and make this so it's totally flat. So hopefully when it goes inside the sheath, it doesn't have anything to rub against. So I'm removing that, and I'm gonna get this down to where, I'm excited to show you guys the finish on this knife too, because it's something I have never done before. It turned out cool, but I can't show you it until the sheath is done. So now I've got this down to one layer of tape, and I'm gonna see if it's gonna fit in the sheath. Now again, I think that I'm not worried about it being clean or anything yet because I've got this tape protecting the blade. Okay, let's see. So you can see it's hitting right here on this belly, so we got to trim that. And then as it goes in, you can see that's where it's hitting, right on that front bolster. And it looks like I've got plenty of material still, because I could force it in. Sometimes if you force it too hard, you can hardly get it back out. So right here, I can see where it's rubbing. I'm gonna trim these spots a little bit. And unfortunately, I can feel it hitting on that top part too a little bit. We're gonna have a lot of tweaking to do with this, I think. But I normally just take a knife, and you can see before I cut this off, let me see if I can get it to show up in the camera. There's spots right here where that front bolster was digging in when I was trying to press it in. And those are the spots you need to tweak a little bit. Now, that can be problematic when you're doing something that's a little softer material, like even a stabilized wood, elk antler, something like that. You go to push it in, and it will actually damage the handle itself. That's why kydex is, if you're doing a knife with just G10 or micarta, kydex is awesome when you get into those little softer materials, mammoth tusk, stuff like that, that can chip really easily. Kydex can be a total pain. So hopefully you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm literally just taking my knife and smoothing out the area where I saw that that bolster was binding up a little bit. And we're gonna see if I can get it to go in here. Normally this takes a little tweaking to get it just right. See there, it goes in. Good click. Yeah. It's a little rough, but that's just because I haven't sanded it yet, but that's what you want. You don't want it so hard that it's hard to get out of the sheath, but you can see using that thumb ramp, pops right out, clicks right back in. So now with this piece of tape on this knife still, one cool thing about that is, so you're gonna go in and out a couple times, and I can feel it rubbing in a couple different areas. Now I can feel it really binding up on this, and that's because I haven't shaved this portion down enough yet. And I can also feel it hitting somewhere on my top swedge. Normally it will hit right there where I folded that thumb ramp over. I can feel it right there, so I might need to do a little tweak in there. So I'm gonna make a couple adjustments here, see if I can't get this a little better. So what I ended up doing is I took some heat and I warmed up this area a little bit, and it kind of decompressed it to where I was getting a little bit of rubbing on this portion of the knife, kind of like I was talking about earlier, and that's why I put that extra tape on. You can apply heat to this very carefully and really make some adjustments. Now it's looking pretty good. Tension's still really good. I'm still getting it to where it's hitting on this top point just a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, really quiet. I always, like when I'm doing this, I always take my headphones off and listen, because you can hear if it's rubbing. And right there, really good. So I could probably, this video is already longer than what I wanted it to be. But I feel like there's so much that goes on with kydex and doing it right that I could make videos every day about kydex. But I think, you know, my tension is pretty good. I would say it's not super tight. It's not rattling, but it's also not loose. And I think if I do my finish sanding, we should be in the clear. That's one thing about this is what scratches the blade a lot of times is having some sort of sand or abrasive inside of here. The kydex itself, you know, it's just plastic. It can scratch, you know, your knife, but primarily where the scratches come from is either sand or some of your abrasives from working it get inside of there. So I'll show you kind of my process for doing that. I'm gonna sand all these areas up to 220. I'm gonna buff it, and I'll show you how I clean this out, and then I'm gonna take the tape off, put it in here, and hope it doesn't scratch. All right, here's the moment of truth. I am going to pull this tape off the blade, show you guys the finish on this, which I'm excited to see what you guys think about it. Still looks pretty good. It needs a little oil, but so you see it's a full satin on the flats portion and then stonewashed bevels. So you could see how if I did scratch this, there's really no way to fix it, which maybe that's why you don't see very many people doing this style finish, because it is a little more tricky. But I'm gonna pull this tape off, and you see what I did with the kydex is after I get it finished sanded and buffed, I rinse it out really, really good. Like more than what you think you should. And that gets all the little fine abrasives and kydex grit, hopefully. And then I blow it out with the compressed air for a while. And all right, let's figure out if this knife is gonna be added to my collection or if I'll be able to sell this one here. Oh yeah, smooth and no scratches. Sweet. Well guys, hopefully you learned something from this video. It's kind of a vlog style, I guess you could say, where I'm kind of talking and going as I film in the process. Let me know in the comments if you liked the video or not. Now, if you want to see, you know, a little more detailed step-by-step on how I do this whole process, go back in my videos, and I'll actually put a link in the description to my full-on kydex video. But hopefully you guys learned something. Again, I'm pretty happy with this. A lot of times what I'll do is put a little bit of oil on the kydex to kind of give it a finish, and it actually looks really good. I haven't done that yet, but added a little pocket clip, and all I have to do is sharpen this one up. And this is actually, like I said before, going to go up for auction. So I look horrible. I've been going like crazy lately. The shirt needs to be thrown out. But wanted to do a quick video for you guys. So there it is. Man, that came out good. Really, really happy I didn't screw that up. So there's the look at the knife. This is, I don't know if I said it, but this is white G10, which actually looks really cool. It's kind of a pain to finish because it gets so dirty. And then I did a blue dyed mammoth molar for the inlay and blue G10 for the liners, pins. And this is, again, this is my pocket Alpine Skinner in Magna Cut steel, two-tone finish. Yep, pretty proud of that one. Pretty proud of that one. So thank you guys for watching. Like always, I really, really appreciate it. If you want to help support the channel at all, I've got a little Patreon. I'll put a link below. You guys can support the channel for just $5 a month, and I really, really appreciate it. Like always, guys, thanks for watching, and have a good one.